Hello and welcome to our latest episode of Your Voice Matters. I'm Nikhil Nayak, your host for today's conversation on waste management and sustainability. Before we begin, let me introduce you to South Bengaluru Times. It is a hyper-local newspaper dedicated to bringing you the latest news, inspiring stories and updates from all across South Bangalore. Our focus is on covering what truly matters to our local community, initiatives, events, and stories of individuals that make a difference. Our mission is to keep you engaged, informed, and connected with your neighborhood. If you value staying updated about your community and being a part of a positive change, South Bengaluru Times is here for you. Now, let's move on to our today's episode of Your Voice Matters, where we're going to explore sustainability and waste management with our special guest. In this episode, we have the pleasure of collaborating with Saahas Zero Waste, an organization that has been at the forefront of sustainable waste management solutions for over 2 decades. Let's begin with a brief introduction of the company. Founded by journalist Vilma Rodriguez, Saahas Zero Waste is an ISO certified social enterprise committed to creating a circular economy focusing on people and the planet. Their work spans across corporates, residential communities, and institutions, making significant strides in waste recovery and management. Today, we are excited to have Arun Murugesh join us for the podcast. Arun is a seasoned waste management professional with over 15 years of experience in driving circular initiatives and sustainable solutions. He's currently working as the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Saahas Zero Waste, where he leads strategic business planning, marketing, and development of decentralized waste management solutions. Arun specializes in areas like material recovery facility operations, reverse logistics, and EPR initiatives, which is a very interesting topic. He is also deeply involved in integrating technology into waste management, which I absolutely love exploring about. This fosters strategic alliances and promotes social inclusion by professionalizing the informal waste management sector. With an educational background that includes a master's in advanced materials technology from the University of Surrey and bachelor's in mechanical engineering from MSRIT, Arun combines technical expertise with a passion for sustainability. We are thrilled to hear his insights on creating a circular ecosystem and leveraging technology for impactful waste management solutions. Welcome to the podcast, Arun.
Thank you so much, Nikhil. Really happy to be here.
Yeah, nice meeting you as well. So let's begin with a very basic question. Saahas Zero Waste has been around for almost 2 decades now, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it has, but in a different format. So I can just quickly explain that.
Yeah. Can you just share the journey behind its founding and how it has evolved over time?
Yeah. So the journey started back in 2001. Our founder, Vilma Rodriguez, she founded the not-for-profit organization called Saahas, Saahas NGO. So, as we went past various challenges, we realized that, waste management is not yet an industry and it needs to be considered as a services industry. And that is where there was a need for a enterprise format rather than a not-for-profit. So that's when in 2013, Vilma started the for-profit, and that is what is called as Saahas Zero Waste, which is an entirely different organization. It's developed into a business model, a very concrete business model, and would love to share more details about it. So I've been with the organization for 9 years now, and like I said, Vilma, who was the founder, CEO, she's moved into a new role, which is a Chief Transformation Officer. The CTO role, we call it as a Chief Transformation Officer. And yes, we are currently providing services to multiple organizations, pan-India, and especially corporates, tech parks, and townships, which is our key customer base as well.
That's really interesting. I'd love to know if there were any initial challenges that you had to overcome while setting up this business model, which you informed about. Basically, while transforming from the non-profit organization into a business model.
We are one of the first organizations who transitioned. There is this concept of a hybrid model. We're one of the first ones to consider this. And yes, there were multiple challenges. There are challenges that remain till today. Waste management is considered a charity, unfortunately. It is a compliance as per the waste management policies and rules and regulations in India. But till date, it is considered more as a corporate social responsibility, CSR, or in terms of more about something that is a not-for-profit driven aspect. I was very pleasantly surprised recently when I saw in one of the newspapers that the government is considering industry status for waste management. So one of the key challenges when we transitioned as well was the waste generator were not really open-minded to taking full responsibility of their waste. Now, when I mean that, all of us in South Bangalore, we know that waste is a very key concern, and there are lots of pockets of areas within South Bangalore. Let's say there is a very large apartment complex. Just behind the complex, usually you will see a lot of dumping of waste, burning of waste in the evenings. I think this was sometime like 3-4 months back. I live in South Bangalore, closer to the Nice Road area. The entire apartment area used to be full of smoke, and that we realized was coming from the nearby dumping, that happens in the quarries, and that's set on fire in the evenings. So one of the biggest challenges that you asked, Nikhil, is I don't want to take responsibility of my waste. Is the normal what we call as a NIMBY syndrome, which is not in my backyard syndrome. Just get the waste outside of my site, out of sight, out of mind. But unfortunately, what we don't realize today is that out of sight gets scientifically treated, which actually comes back to our own houses through the groundwater. There is shortage of water, so usually everyone is surviving on borewell water in the south of Bangalore. The waste leachate seeps through, comes back into our own households in the form of drinking water, comes back in the air we breathe, because usually the low value material which doesn't get sold, the waste that doesn't get sold, it actually comes back as fumes into our household. So this is one of the biggest challenges which we still face, which we face during transition. 10 years down the line, we continue to face the same problem.
I definitely agree to the part where you mentioned the NIMBY syndrome, which is not in my backyard, which is people assume that if the waste is not in their house, it isn't a part of their responsibility. It's I'm pretty sure you've seen this meme that has been on WhatsApp for at least a decade now. There's like people are dumping across the compound, and the neighbor is dumping the same thing across the other compound. So this keeps carrying across, and I don't know if it's the mentality of people, or this is what has grown over the time. I mean, it will take a long time to convince people that this is a very underlying issue, and people are going to get affected directly or indirectly somehow or the other. Let's move on to the next question. One of Saahas Zero Waste's core areas of work is Zero Waste program. Could you explain what the program entails and how it helps communities and corporates manage waste more effectively?
Absolutely well said. The Zero Waste program is our flagship program. Our founder set this program long time back, and we are continuing to scale up this model. It's very difficult, like you said. Sensitization of waste generators is very, very difficult. We are trying very hard to do this, but we have not been very successful to scale up rapidly at the pace at which the waste is growing. We're not growing and solving and impacting positively at that rate. So if I can put this in very layman terms, so we service corporates, which is office spaces, tech parks, townships, etc. But we also are available for servicing residential complexes and societies. Let's say in South Bangalore, we have so many apartments, and some of these apartments, they can even be above 1,000 household within a cluster of apartments. Just imagine that the waste that comes from every household is all aggregated together in one place in the apartment complex. Usually, there is a law that says that you have to manage the waste on site, which is the wet waste needs to be separated from the dry waste. That's the first thing from every household. That has to be taken care of separately on site, but usually that doesn't happen. So what we would tend to do is right from the early stage, in terms of how do you create a baseline, which is we audit the waste. Where does the waste come from? What's the quality of the waste? Is it segregated at source? Right from that, we will then come back with a report and requirement to build some infrastructure within that campus. When I say campus, it's within that compound of the residential society. And infrastructure in the sense, how do you actually take care of the waste? So the two main fractions, there are three fractions, but the two main fractions, the larger volumes, are your organic waste, which is anything that is coming out of your kitchen, which can be solved on site. You can compost it, you can create a biogas unit on site. So that is what we would propose from in terms of infrastructure. The dry waste will then be taken away from site into a factory setup, and that's what we call a materials recovery facility, where that waste can be sorted into, you can just imagine one bin which has your inorganic or your dry waste fractions like plastic, your paper. It can be sorted into 30 categories. That's what we do at a factory scale, larger scale, more mechanized factory for waste management, which is called the Material Recovery Facility, MRF. And from there, it goes into recycling to various end destinations so that that material can come back. Let's say paper, my visiting cards are made from recycled paper. In our office, our tables, chairs are made with recycled plastics. So the plastics that is non-recyclable is made into boards. It's called repurposing or upcycling, and that we then bring it back as products. So strictly speaking, in this project, in this program called as a zero waste program, we will convert this society into a zero waste campus. What does that mean? It means that less than 10% of the waste has actually gone to landfill. Remaining 90% of the waste is recovered as resources, and it is given back to the waste generators or other consumers, so to speak. So this is our flagship program. We then go to the next level of zero waste, which is the certifications. We will help that society or that tech park, office space to get certified as zero waste campus, which is by law a mandate. And I just wish that, especially through this podcast, a lot of us in South Bangalore will ask this question one day, that where is my waste going? If they can track, if the youngsters from each of these societies can track where the waste is going, step by step, it goes from the houses to the ground floor to the aggregation point. From there, who takes it? What do they do with it? Then we will realize the reality, and that is where this kind of a program can be very instrumental in having that satisfaction that we are not adding to the burden on this earth.
That's really interesting because I completely agree on the fact that you mentioned that invitation cards are being used from recycled papers, and I should really be thankful people are somehow realizing the need for sustainability using recycled products, be it bags or papers, or could be furniture. I've seen a lot of home decor that's currently being made from recycled products. So there's a huge market, I believe, for all this, provided people come out of the stigma that says waste is just waste. So let's talk about the social impact on marginalized communities. Saahas Zero Waste places a strong emphasis on creating jobs for marginalized communities. Could you tell me more about how this initiative works and what differences has it made for waste workers?
So, I'll just take a continuation of what I was talking about earlier through the zero waste program. By nature of design, the zero waste program is fully compliant, which means that every single aspect, whether it is environmental compliance, which is no burning, no dumping, maximum resource recovery. You may take a bottle, which is a waste now, it becomes a bottle that can come back to the consumer, those kind of compliances. But also, we take care of social compliances, which is minimum wages, no child labor, gender equality, all of these labor compliances we take care of. However, like I said, we are still in the scale up mode, and there is a lot of waste management that happens amongst the informal sector. Don't get me wrong, but I would call the informal sector as the silent angels of the city. If it wasn't for them, the city wouldn't be as clean as it is today, and we wouldn't be recovering whatever we are actually recovering in today's world. However, in the name of actually getting our waste out of sight, we're actually exploiting the informal sector. Let me explain how this could work. Again, taking an extension of what I mentioned earlier, imagine if you and more people like you in South Bangalore or anywhere for that matter were to ask this question amongst themselves: where is my waste ending up? I am segregating my waste. That's the first step for all of us. It's not that difficult, believe me. If you're segregating waste between the dry waste and the wet waste fractions, and of course the sanitary waste, the hazardous waste that comes out of the household, like your sanitary diapers, etc. These are the three separate waste streams that we need to segregate at source. Further to that, just imagine if we were to take this decision to follow a trail of the waste from our houses. You would find that most often, I'm not saying always, but most often, the waste will end up in a flat piece of land where dumping is happening, etc. But what you would notice there is a lot of people working in those very, very unhygienic and unsafe conditions, where you have mixed waste coming in. There is a lot of hazards, not just health and safety hazard, but also, because of the hygiene, work safety is not really there. You would see children amongst this because, these are all sometimes migrant populations, sometimes local population. You will see the workers living next door to their workplace, which is actually the dumping yard. So it's very, very bad situation that exists in today's world. And to add to all these miseries, there is a lot of exploitation from a lot of people around for the sake of money. If you were to do an audit trail of your own waste, you will see all these situations happening. But how do we want to make a change? We actually bring in a business model here, and we get the support of multiple corporates, where we pitch to them saying that these waste workers, they're typically called waste workers, you'll see them around, especially in South Bangalore, you'll see them on tricycles, sometimes really very fancy version of tricycles. You'll see a very old Chetak scooter in the front with the engine and everything, and the two wheels at the back, which is more of a automated, it's more of a, actually the autos these days are getting converted into there as well. So you could call it jugaad, but I would call it innovation. So they're getting very innovative with the way they pick litter from the street. So all of these people, you will notice. What we tell to some of the corporates is, can you fund us some budget for looking at reverse supply chain of waste? Let me give you an example. There is a recycler in Bidadi who is supported by a European company, and they actually pay what is called as an ethical surcharge for milk pouches. They recycle milk pouches and they send it back to Europe to be made into other plastic flexible products like, bin liners, etc., which is required in Europe and of course in India. So they would pay us a surcharge. We will take that incentive that is provided to us, and we will go to one of these waste pickers. Not too far away from where I live, Begur Road, there is a waste picker colony. So there's a person called Hassan. Now we have brought this project to Hassan. Hassan is on the verge of moving out of that waste picker colony where there are very, very, very tough working conditions, unsafe. When it rains, it's very, very bad conditions. He's going to move himself, his operations, into a new facility in an industrial area, which is a proper factory. And it is a factory similar to how we operate. And these are incentives provided to him, provided he gives us enough confirmation on that the fact that he doesn't use child labor. He uses minimum wages. In Bangalore, every single employee needs to get paid 18,000 rupees. He has to give us all these evidences against which we will give him an incentive. And then once this continues to go, we'll set up that supply chain such that he's fully formalized. So these are some of the efforts that we take in South Bangalore. We have some really good case studies. We would love to showcase some of these case studies, and we would invite you and the team at South Bengaluru Times to come and witness some of these as it is on the ground at our facilities and at the waste picker colonies. Any point in time, I would be very happy to host you guys.
I'll really like to utilize this opportunity because I've been keen about waste management, especially in Bangalore, such a huge city, such a dense population, and we have huge amount of waste that's being generated every day. And be it segregated or non-segregated, there's still a lot of process that is happening in the background which people are unaware of. And I think this is a really good opportunity to show people what is being done in the background to keep the city clean. Adding on to this, how do you educate people or your waste workers, and do you have any engagement programs beforehand before they start working?
Yeah, they go through a very intense, induction program. There's a lot of training that happens. Some of the recruitments that we have for our field staff, they're from the base of the pyramid. They wouldn't have probably had any work experience. So getting them trained on formal procedures of work, all the way, not just how do you have maximum efficiencies in sorting or in terms of operating machines, etc. Not just that, but all the way to bring them awareness of during COVID times, we taught them how to wash their hands and keep themselves safe during such difficult times. Right from that to a lot of details on financial literacy. We have recently started something which I'm sure you would all find very interesting. That one of the key steps towards ensuring professional waste management is to take care of mental well-being of the field staff. We have realized recently, we've done some surveys, that mental health is actually quite a big concern in the waste management industry. You would understand that, the working conditions sometimes can be very difficult. So we would equip our staff with the right level of resilience and the ability to be able to match this. Of course, the program has just started. And we've got a long way to go to ensure mental well-being as well. But what I'm trying to tell here is someone wouldn't even realize that, we would think that, okay, mental health is most important to all of us. But just imagine people working on the ground in waste. They have to sort waste, etc. Of course, they will have all their PPE and stuff. So all the way to mental health and nutrition, we would have regular health checkups for them. So all of the training around even grievance redressal, etc., within a formal operation like us. So a lot of training happens through the year. We have specialized training teams. We have the quality health and safety team as well. We have our human resources team. And we also have what is called as a social inclusion team, where we are talking about something called as social behavioral change, and not just for our own staff, but also for our partners, some of the informal sector partners that we work with. All of them, we would bring them on board with all these kind of training mechanism, not just work, but beyond work as well.
That's a really great initiative, I must say, talking about the mental well-being of the workers, because the working conditions are really difficult to maintain it ideally, and working with waste is not really easy. And I totally agree on the fact that you have to train them, and you have to consider their mental well-being and the physical working conditions as well. That's really nice. Let's move to the next question. With the growing conversation around sustainability, what do you see the future of waste management in India, and how is Saahas Zero Waste preparing for it with regard to the future?
So the future is what is called as circular economy. And when you say circular economy, It's very different from today's linear economy. Linear economy is nothing but you take something, you basically dig oil and you make something, you use it and you throw it. And then that's the end of that. It has nowhere to go. Plastics, which is capable of having a 500-year shelf life, is made into products which will last 2 minutes in your hand. For example, a straw that you use for a tender coconut. Why was it designed with plastic? You don't really need to design with the plastic because it's a single-use plastic, but then you use and throw it in 2 minutes. So that's the linear economy that we're talking about. We're hoping that we're entering into, actually, this year, 2025, is the silver jubilee year of circular economy, and we're nowhere close to achieving circular economy. What is circular economy? We're trying to say that you take something, like let's say you dig the oil, you make plastic out of the oil, and you make a bottle, let's say a water bottle, and you consume it. Instead of throwing it and instead of recycling into polyester, we all know we wear polyester, right? So that is typically what happens today. But that's not the best solution because it creates microplastics. So today's world, in circular economy world, can that bottle of water, the packaging, or rather the packaging of the PET bottle itself, can it be made into a bottle again rather than actually downcycling? Can it be what is called as bottle to bottle conversion, right? You need to make the same kind of a product with the same kind of properties rather than downcycling. So that's circular economy. But if you ask me, as Saahas Zero Waste, we're getting ready for the next part. We want to skip the circular economy. It's not working out. It's very difficult. We want to try something that is the next phase, which is called as regenerative economy. For example, that's a great example to show. The shirt that I'm wearing today is not my shirt. I didn't buy this shirt. I swapped it. I had my own shirt, which I was not using for a very long time. We have in South Bangalore, on Banagatta Road, Gottigere. If you Google it, you will find it. It's a textile recovery facility. It's called TRF by Saahas Zero Waste. And if you walk in there with some of your old stuff, let's say old clothes, which are reusable, which others can use, and you don't like it, right? So you go there, give it to them, and then they would give you a choice of, it's like a thrift store. You can choose any other piece of cloth that you want over there for yourself or someone else. So I took something that I didn't use and I got this shirt, and I've been using this shirt for a very long time now. I stopped buying denims. So I really love to go to the thrift store at the TRF because I can get a denim that is reused. Of course, someone has hardly used it or not at all used it. Sometimes textile waste, the cloth that comes in textile waste has a tag on it. We do a lot of collections, door-to-door collection societies in South Bangalore. A lot of apartments would give away their textile waste that they don't need or don't use. Some of them comes with brand new tag of, best brands around that you can get your hands on, and for a very nominal price as well. So this is regenerative economy. How do you actually bring in the concept of reduce, reuse, refill? That is the future. We're getting ready with these business models. We're getting ready with technology for these business models. We're getting ready with supply chains. And we are very happy to share that, the government of India has also brought in a lot of policies around these kind of concepts of regenerative. We just hope it's going to pick up quicker, and we need the strength of the youngsters especially. And through this medium, through this channel, I hope we are able to reach out to all the youngsters to adopt these kind of regenerative methodologies, repair, reduce, reuse, refill, all of these before we can even start thinking of recycling. Conscious consumerism is the key, and I think I would really, want to voice out my opinion, saying let's embrace it together and make this genuinely possible for ourselves.
Definitely. I definitely agree on this part. And as you mentioned, TRF is one place I've been looking forward to visiting. I recently read an article, or I think I saw a video on the TRF. So maybe currently I have my examinations going on. So right after my examinations, I hope I find some time. I'll make sure I visit the TRF, and maybe end of the day I'll have some new clothes that are swapped out. Okay, and one important question: how has the support from the lawmakers and the government been to Saahas Zero Waste?
I would say yes and no, unfortunately. Yes, because India is blessed with beautiful waste management rules, policies, really way back. It started taking a really good shape back in 2016. Since 2016, there's been good level of amendments brought to a lot of the policies. New policies are coming out. The policy for solid waste management rules 2016 is getting amended finally now after 8 years. So it's going to come into action by 2026. It's out for public consultation. I would really encourage all of you to just Google for solid waste management rules, and it's up for public consultations. You can also give your views around it. It's going to be quite a technical document, but still, it's up for reading and giving your views. Having said that, we also have good state government rules, bylaws, etc. Karnataka is blessed with some fantastic rules as well. When I talk about South Bangalore, I look at outside of the BBMP limits, and it's called the Anekal Taluk all the way to Hosur, right? So we work in that particular region quite extensively. We have a program what's called as the ecosystem model, where we reach out to, I would say, approximately 30 local bodies, which consists of both urban local bodies, which are suburbs of Bangalore, and also we have rural bodies like the Gram Panchayats. Now, I would say that the authorities and the officers at these local bodies are fantastic, and some of them are very supportive. They want to make a change. Unfortunately, there is a very big gap with infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, collection vehicles. So waste has to be collected from door to door. Unfortunately, it's not there. But the government wants to do something about it. They're not able to do a lot of things about it because of a lot of local circumstances that comes into play as well. So if you ask me, it's a 50-50. Yes, the government has given us a good framework. It's our duty to follow the framework, but there is a lot of incapabilities in terms of executing some of these policies, and that's what really comes as a starking issue, especially when it comes to South Bangalore. When you go to the extremes of South Bangalore, you will see a lot of waste thrown around in the streets, unfortunately not being picked up and recovered. So definitely that's something that we have to look at. I also want to bring upon this aspect around technology. We've been quite extensively working with technology, and the government has been supportive as well. So for instance, we're working with technologies like artificial intelligence right now to be able to identify material, because material streams are really difficult to sometimes to identify with bare hands. So we're bringing in AI there. We're working with entities like Google. Recently, there was a article launched as well about our work with Google. We work with other things like Internet of Things, etc. So we have seen that sometimes the government is in need of data, and bodies like the National Green Tribunal, the NGT, they also seek a lot of data from the government. There is a lot of EPR that has come in recently as well, and the government wants to play a key part in this. So yes, there is sometimes good intent, sometimes good administrators, but there's a lack of implementation. And I would say that one of the key bodies that needs to implement this in Karnataka is called the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, which is unfortunately the biggest bottleneck in the implementation. That entity needs to strengthen up and pull their socks up to be able to execute some of these frameworks which are beautifully put out in India.
That's really interesting, and I'm still pondering upon the fact that you mentioned as integration of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things in waste management. Really interesting. I'd love to explore more about this sometime soon. I think we've come towards the end of the podcast. Uh, do you have any message for the viewers of this podcast? Anything that they could implement in the near future or in the long run?
Yeah, thanks, Nikhil. You mentioned a couple of things which I would like to reiterate. First thing you mentioned was behavioral change is something that is going to take a long time and it's very difficult. We've been in this space for so long, we can tell you for sure that behavioral change is possible. And the youngsters of today, we are really dependent on them to really see, because the future is theirs. We have started borrowing from our future generations, which is wrong. So behavioral change is definitely doable. It's in the hands of the youngsters, especially. I would request everyone to really consider that waste management is a very big critical a problem that is going to explode anytime soon. We're seeing a lot of news around the climate change. The wildfires that started off the year with such a big bang, unfortunately, with a lot of lives lost. All of these are a reality. Climate change is a reality. So that behavioral change is something that I would like to pick up Nikhil saying it is possible. It's in our hands. We need to do this. Otherwise, it's going to be too late. So that is my request, saying let's have that. We need to be very, very anxious about it. If not anxious about it, we need to be worried about it. And we need to bring in a lot of resilience there. So that's the first thing I would really like to put out an appeal to everyone, saying segregate your waste and make sure that you ask the right questions of where the waste is going. And the second thing that I would like to say is, you mentioned that as an organization, we've been able to provide for livelihoods at the base of the pyramid with a lot of marginalized communities. But I would also like to share that we're a very strong 150 executive team members who are based out of the office, sometimes on the office and some on the field as well. What I would like to share is that as an organization, we've been able to give a fantastic platform to youngsters, budding entrepreneurs, and also people seeking careers in waste management. A very technical approach into waste management with a lot of core values. So not just us as an organization, there are many more social enterprises out there in the waste management space. I would really put out saying that, to the youngsters, saying that waste management is definitely an up and coming industry. And I mentioned earlier as well, being considered for industry status. Now is the time to jump in nice and early and find your career paths in something that will make a difference, will bring a lot of job satisfaction to everyone who's a part of our organization or similar organizations. Consider waste management and sustainability as a core career option when you're thinking about it, as you are growing into this entire, you're all completing schools and then moving into colleges. Do consider this as mainstream. So this is my second request. First thing is behavioral change. Second thing is, this is a fantastic career to have.
Correct. Both the points are perfectly properly aligned to the agendas of this podcast, which is giving people a proper message about how crucial it is to how crucial waste management is in the current era, and especially in a city like Bangalore. It's been really enlightening about hearing the transformative work that Saahas Zero Waste has been doing. Thank you so much for your time, Arun. And I hope your dedication to creating a sustainable future has given proper insights to all the viewers of our podcast. And I hope today's discussion has helped everyone gain insights into how each one of us can contribute to a zero waste lifestyle. For more information, all the viewers, you can visit Saahas Zero Waste website, or you can also follow them on social media for updates. They're really active and they keep posting frequent visits and the process they've been doing in the back end. And remember, everyone, small effort counts when it comes to sustainability. Every small effort counts. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm Nikhil Nayak. Until next time, let's work together to make our planet a cleaner and a greener space. Thank you, Arun. Thank you.